everyone, and thank you for being here. It's again an honor to talk to you guys. This is really not our first time that we've done this. Fortunately, we've been able to do a couple other presentations in the past for La Hontan, and so it's a great honor to be here. And tonight I will be sharing our presentation with my good friend and colleague Anthony Arce, as Diane well mentioned. Between the two of us, we're going to try to cover a couple of important, what we think is important fact about the country. We'll talk to you a little bit about the program that we have coming up next year. And then at the end, I would like to mention a couple of things about the two of the most endangered birds that we have in the country. So without further notice, I will introduce Anthony a little bit more properly in a few minutes. All right. So, well, this, as you will know, this next program that we have, and this presentation is based on the birds of Northern Costa Rica. For birding purposes, we have divided the country into three major regions: the central, the south, and then the northern part. We've already done in the past with La Honte and Audubon. We've done trips in the south, and we've also done trips. Am I muted? No. Okay. So we've also done trips in the central part of the country and in the south as well. So this one will focus on the the northern part of the country. Okay. So for those of you that are not entirely familiar with Costa Rica, well, we are located approximately 10 degrees north of the equator in the southern part of Central America. Our neighbors to the north are the Nicaraguan, and then to the south we have Panama. And then on the east coast we have the Caribbean Sea, and then the Pacific coast, obviously on the west coast. All right. Costa Rica is not a very large country. It's approximately 51,000 square kilometers. That is approximately 19,700 plus square miles. For comparison, this is something that might help in a little bit. For comparison, we are close to about the same size of the great state of West Virginia that you may know well on the east side. So we're a very tiny country, and but packed with a lot of amazing things here, a lot of biodiversity, and a lot of other things. Okay, the capital city of the country is San Jose. That's close to where I am right now. Uh, we speak Spanish here, and like I said, um, the population of the country is a little over 5 million right now, 5.2 million, something like that, right? So that's a brief introduction to the country of Costa Rica, of course. Okay. Now, okay, this. Uh-huh. We'll do this now. Not now. Not changing. Let me try something here again. Just quickly. There we go. Now, Costa Rica, for the small size country that we are, it is home to what is estimated to be approximately 6% of the entire world's biodiversity. That is somewhere in the range of 500,000, 500,000 organisms that are found here in Costa Rican land and waters, right? Like I said, the country is not very big, and what is said that we only represent about 0.03% of the total land mass. And you have to add to that a little bit of our oceans, but again, not a lot, right? So we're in a tiny, small country. We have been able to pack, like I said, approximately between 5 and 6% of the world's biodiversity, right? Costa Rica, it's in the top 20 in the club of the top 20 most biodiverse countries in the world. Uh, Specifically about birds, which is what we're going to be talking about. Costa Rica is perhaps the one country that has the highest density of species of any other country in the world, given our size. So in this slide, I try to introduce some of the the highlights of our diversity, a little bit of flora, some of the mammals, reptiles, insects, of course, and everything else. So Costa Rica, because of these numbers and this high biodiversity, has become in the last maybe 3 decades, something like that, one of the top destinations for ecotourists around the world. Okay, in fact, tourism is one of the top 5 economical activities of the country. All right. To continue with this illustration here, I have this chart. This is specifically about birds, right? And this is what I was trying to express when I said that Costa Rica has one of the highest densities. This is the number of species per every 1,000 square kilometers. So Costa Rica, for the size that we more or less have an average of 18 species for every 1,000 square kilometers, right? And Panama is the next country, and then Colombia, which is the country that has the most species of birds of any country in the world, right? And it's a big country. Colombia is 25, 26 times larger than Costa Rica. So they only have about 1%, 1.7% density of species. So perhaps, obviously, we do not have the highest number. We don't have, but we do have density. And we always in Costa Rica we have a saying. It's like the corner grocery store in any small town, right? It's a small place, but has a little bit of everything. So that's how we feel here in many cases, right? This is a number where Costa Rica shines, and Costa Rica becomes one of those also top and most desirable destinations for birders and photographers alike in the world. So with this, I would like to, we look at Brazil. Brazil is how many times bigger than Costa Rica? It's like 50. Of course, numbers in species in the thousands, but for us, small country, we have more density of species. That's something I wanted to mention, right? With this, well, Costa Rica, we are currently the historical record of species of birds in Costa Rica is 935, perhaps 36. We're still debating in one there. So maybe in 936, hopefully, right? The species that have been registered in Costa Rican land and waters over time. Of those, approximately 220 plus species are migratory. Most of them migrate here from the east. And speaking of that, right now, as we speak, we're seeing a tremendous amount of raptors migrating through here. This is the peak season for hawk migration and raptor migration in the country. And it is estimated that numbers are about 4 million birds of prey that migrate to Costa Rica during this season, especially, like I said, fall migration. So, like I said, about 220, that represents maybe a little 18% of the species here are considered migratory. Many of them from North America. Only about 8 species migrate from South America into here. And then what is also interesting, especially for you guys on the West, is that of those migrants, only a handful, only about 10% are from the western uh, side of North America, which perhaps makes visiting Costa Rica during spring or during this time attractive for you to see some of the eastern species. Right? In the country, we have 7 endemics. 4 are located here in the mainland, and 3 others are located in a tiny island that's on the South Pacific coast, about 300 miles south of Costa Rica. Somewhere between here and the Galapagos Island is a place called Cocos Island. We have 3 endemics there, island endemics, and then 4 that are here in the mainland. I added some pictures at the bottom. Left to right is a black peak antanager, copper-headed emerald, maybe hummingbird. And that one you see between the branches there, it's a mangrove hummingbird, which we'll be talking about a little bit later. And then to the right, we have the cabanises or the Costa Rican ground sparrow. Those are the 4 mainland things, right? Of this, together with the birds that we share with our neighbors, with Nicaragua, with Honduras, and with Panama, right? We have uh, approximately 70 species that are endemic to this region. what we call the near endemic birds that we share, especially with Panama, right? So that's a pretty high number. So adding the two countries, you have, a handful of species that you will not find anywhere else in the world. Going back to the seven endemics, of course, these are birds that are exclusive to Costa Rica. That there's no other country that has this sort of species, right? So with this, I'm gonna hand it to Tony. Tony is it's a good friend of mine. Tony is one of the top birders in the country. He's involved in many projects. He's done work in conservation and other things. But I'm gonna let him introduce himself because Tony will be guiding the trip that we have for La Junta next year. And what we would like to do now is give you sort of an overview of the itinerary that we have and what sort of places we're visiting, what sort of accommodations, and more importantly, perhaps what sort of birds we're going to expect during our trip coming up next spring. So Anthony, muchas gracias. Thank you so much for being here. I'm gonna flip it over to your.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Mario. Thank you for the invitation. Thank you, Diana, also for the invitation. I'm glad to be here. Thank you for this great introduction to Costa Rica. Well, first of all, I would like to introduce myself briefly. Well, my name is Anthony Eduardo Arce. If that's too long, just call me Tony. So that's gonna be the easiest way to refer to me while you're here in the country. I grew up in the northwest part of the country, section that we're gonna be driving through in the last 2 days of our trip. And well, there I learned how to deal with the droughts of the northwest part of the country, and we're gonna be experiencing that. So I'm gonna feel home there. I grew up there, went to university, got the opportunity to went to a public university where, thanks to a great professor, got involved into birding. So working in tourism and traveling around the country gave me the opportunity to, see the birds, in a different perspective. And then when I moved to Fortuna, where I'm located right now, a few kilometers away from Arenal volcano, one of the most important of the country, I got more involved into the rainforest experience, and I learned more about the dynamic of the forest, and that gave me some tools to share with you as a local guide. And as Mario mentioned to you, I started to get involved in some conservation programs, counting of cerulean warblers in Costa Rica. And a few years ago, I got the opportunity to become a volunteer for eBird as a reviewer of this region. So giving me the opportunity to, learn more about the dynamics of birds, learn about the endemics, the birds that are endangered in the country, and then how to find for, my groups. So I hope all of these help me to give you the best experience while you're here. And I'm more than prepared to go birding with you and explore all of the different destinations that we have available. So as part of the overview of what we're doing, I would like to give you some insights and some elements about this program that we have available, starting at Bougainvillea, Central Valley, really interesting urban, number one in the map. We're gonna be approximately 3,000 feet above the sea level. Really interesting urban birding, where we have a beautiful garden with the chances to find some birds with a very strong influence of the Pacific of Costa Rica. That is the western section of the country, and where we're gonna have our first meeting and a welcome briefing in order to give you details of what's upcoming. Then we're gonna be driving to point number 2, where we're gonna start enjoying the lowlands of the Caribbean coast of Costa Rica. That means we're gonna start getting the first highlights of the trip. Birds that are only found along the Caribbean slope that we share with Nicaragua, El Salvador, as Mario mentioned in our group. Then we're going to have the opportunity to visit the region of Sarapiquí, one of the most famous lowland rainforests of the country, and the opportunity to walk in one of the best protected areas of the country, where research investigation is very strong, where we're going to be well, get immersed into the elements of the rainforest, walking on really easy path, full of life, as Mario mentioned to all of us, giving us the opportunity to get photo opportunities and find a lot of different birds of the lowlands of the Caribbean. So elements that we didn't get to see in Tortuguero, well, we're going to try to find at Sarapiquí. Rivers, open areas, great green macaws flying overs, mud moths in different areas. Riverside life is all present around there. Then, as an overview, Caño Negro, yes, one of the most important wetlands around our site. So in that case, our third different level of protection that we're going to be visiting. And after that, well, I'll have the opportunity to go to middle elevation, similar to where I am right now, in between two volcanoes before we head to the Pacific. So it's a really interesting way to visit different levels of protection, national parks, biological reserves, private properties, private land, and other levels of conservation that allow us to get really good numbers of birds. So I'll go in details for every one of those points in order to describe a little bit what we're doing. Some pictures of the surroundings of the hotels, of the birds, some of the highlights. There are so many, and well, we choose some to give you a general idea of what to expect. Tortuguero, land of turtles, the Amazon of Central America, as is known. So a lot of waterways are going to take us into very lush green rainforest. Even from the point where we take the boat, in this first hour of ride, we're going to be navigating along water canals, both artificial and naturals. And well, a lot of life is going to be present there. So sometimes we're going to have the opportunity to find monkeys, crocodiles, caimans, also some other reptiles. And the habitat is ideal for egrets, herons, jacanas, also both residents of migratory birds, especially in March. That is a really important time of the year for those birds. And once we get to Evergreen, well, we're going to be surrounded by rainforest, where, well, even from the balcony of the room, we're going to have the chance to get some tanagers, hummingbirds, trogons, and well, we're going to have the opportunity to do two boat trips that are going to take us to different canals and explore deeper the beauties of this national park, and in a place where basically there are no cars. That is the amazing part about Tortuguero. What kind of birds we can expect to see there? Well, I mentioned some of them, and two in particular are highlights. Birds like gray curassows are increasing the population thanks to the efforts of conservation that Costa Rica have been doing since the 90s. And an elusive but important species of kingfisher that would be the sixth species of Costa Rica, because potentially in this program we can find all of the 6 species of the Americas. The green and rufous kingfisher, that's one of the birds we're going to be paying in particular attention along the canals. After we leave Tortuguero, well, Sarapiquí is going to be waiting for us. Look, there is something similar there: water and rainforest. So we're going to be in wet areas in where the vegetation is constantly growing, and we're going to be surrounded by amazing flora and fauna. And well, Salvaverde is located in a very strategic location, in where we have access to Sarapiquí River, and where we have access to second growth rainforest. And just a few minutes away from the famous La Selva Biological Station, and where the research is been going on for a while, that is been helping us to understand all of the different complex dynamics of birds going on there. So broadbill mudmot, great tail jacamars, red-legged honey creeper in breeding plumage, like the pictures on the top, and a species that is endangered, that we're gonna be looking for and going after different opportunities. The gray green macaw that Sarapiquí is one of the best locations for this species. So two of the highlights, and then thanks to the combination of habitats, open areas, second growth, forest edges, and the river, great numbers of species present there. Caño Negro, another level of conservation. In this case, we have one of the most important Ramsar sites of Costa Rica, or wetlands of importance that are protected. In this case, we're going to be close to the border with Nicaragua, in a habitat in where, part of the species that live there are constantly moving. So what we see in the picture right now, this aerial picture of Caño Negro, represent the high peak of the rainy season, in where rivers overflow, fill the lagoons, and create amazing bodies of water. In March, by the time we get there, the water is going to be a little bit more limited. So as the dry season goes on, the level of the lagoons are going to decrease. So they shrink, basically produces small bodies of water that congregate migratory species and resident species. So we're going to be navigating along those canals, lagoons, and we're going to try to find good numbers of black-bellied whistling ducks, a bird that is a bit widespread, but is one of the birds that is increasing its population thanks to the efforts of conservation. And sungreave, that is one of the 3 species of pinfoot around the world, and Caño Negro seems to be one of the best locations for that one. So always one of the highlights, and great, to find this particular bird. So another boat trip that is going to take us along different habitats and exploration of the lowlands of the Caribbean. Right after we finish all of those days in the lowlands, it's time to go to the base of volcanoes, Heliconias. So strategically, this place was chosen thanks to the location where we're going to be. Near elevation, around 2,000 feet above the sea level, place located between 2 volcanoes, with the influence of the lowlands of the Caribbean, but close to Guanacaste. So if you put all of those habitats together, so we're going to have a really interesting place in where several species of birds are found. So Heliconias is a hotel administered by the community, and we have their trails that we're going to be walking in search of some of the most sought after birds. Among those, Tori mudmot, and also black earwood quails, black crested coquettes. It's a habitat and a forest in where we have a transition. We're not going to get to the cloud forest, but we have a species of cloud forest present in the area. And then elusive birds such as bird-neck umbrella bird, one of the endemic birds that we share with Panama, that have altitudinal migration. And one of the skulkers, but really cool to find the striped-throated wren that is endemic of the Caribbean slope of Costa Rica, Nicaragua, and part of Honduras. So being in the middle elevation gave us the opportunity to understand the dynamic of different species, the border of different groups. And we're going to be in a convenient location in where we have access to good trails, to bridges, to open areas, to gardens that help us to increase the list of birds. And after visiting this particular location, we're going to be driving to the dry part of the country. Part of the province of Guanacaste in the northwest is the southern limit of the dry forest of the Pacific slope of Central America. And Ensenada Lodge is well part of a really interesting forest of a private property that protect really good tract of dry forest. And next to it, we have the option, the possibility to explore a very important habitat that is the mangrove at Avangarito River. So it's the exploration of the grounds for Pacific screech owls, for crested bobwhites, but also the opportunity to find one of the 7 endemics birds that Mario mentioned at the beginning. In that case, once we get to the mangrove, that is a really important source of life for the forest. Well, we have a mangrove hummingbird that is at the moment one of the endemics of Costa Rica. I forgot to mention, by the way, that in this program we have the opportunity to find 2 of the 4 Costa Rican only birds. At Heliconias, copper-headed emerald, that's one of the Costa Rican only, and mangrove hummingbird at Ensenada. So in this case, well, it's going to be one of the highlights. We're going to spend some time looking for this species, but also some other species that are important for the ecosystem that give us the opportunity to learn about what's going on there, such as limkin, great picture that Mario took and is showing to the group today. So it's this combination of marine environment, and we're going to visit the salt ponds to look for migratory birds. So salt ponds and open areas there with shallow water offer really great opportunities to increase your Costa Rican list with birds that migrate. So March is a great time of the year in where we have good conditions in most of the areas, good numbers of birds in where we have South American species along with North American species, and the resident ones are still during the mating season. So great opportunities to find good numbers of birds. And additionally to that, well, great sky views, pictures, and some elements of the natural history, such as displays, sounds, calls, and other ones that takes place during that time of the year. And well, after all of those habitats, exploration of all of those habitats, it's time for us to return to the Central Valley, and we're at a hotel not far from the airport. We're gonna end up our adventure, and well, there, even though we're gonna be in another urban area, the possibility, the option to get the final birds of our journey. So I'm ready to share all of those birds with you, to learn with you about birds, to share what we love to do, and see all of those lists and pictures, and see you around here traveling and learning about Costa Rica and the wildlife present, what we like to do, our lifestyle, our food. That is also part of the deal. So I'm ready. So I'm hoping to see you in person soon in March, and looking forward to guide this group and get you the best of me there. So thank you again for the invitation. I hope that was although brief, a summary of what we are hoping to do. And now it's time for Mario to talk a little bit about some species of birds are important, endangered, and the way how we can we are supporting the conservation of those throughout ecotourism. So Mario, thank you.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you. That was very nice. Yeah, that was a nice brief overview of the program. Of course, as you may all understand, we will have lots of other details, lots of places, and okay, I'm trying to. There we go. Okay. Anyhow, so thank you, Anthony, and we will just continue for a few more minutes. I know we have you guys have another program and all that. So I basically want to talk to you a little bit about the endangered species, even though Costa Rica has been working really hard in the last few decades in conservation. We still have some threats. We still have some activities and some practices here that put in some of our species, not just birds, but also amphibians and reptiles, mammals, in the condition of being endangered species. But what makes an endangered species basically, well, is the organism that is threatened by extinction, basically, for two reasons: habitat loss and loss of genetic variation, which sort of come together, right? When there's isolation in populations, that genetic variation doesn't occur. So many of these organisms may be doomed or maybe just on the verge of extinction. And loss of habitat and human interventions are probably the main causes that we have here. In the country, we have a group of birds that are listed as endangered species: great green macaw, which is the one I'm gonna be talking about real soon, as well as the jabiru. But others may include the elusive bird-necked umbrella bird, yellow-snake parrot, which suffers a lot from poaching, right? Basically, that's human intervention as well. Mangrove hummingbird, and a few others. So I just thought I should just bring a little bit of a definition of what is an endangered species and what causes it. And then specifically about the great green macaw, it's a bird that ranges from the northern part of Colombia, goes into Panama, Costa Rica, Nicaragua, and then in Honduras. And there are two very isolated populations in Ecuador, also on the west side of Ecuador. So it's a bird with not a wide range, sort of a limited distribution. And this is a species that is considered critically endangered. In fact, when you report it on eBird, it goes unsensitive. It doesn't give you the exact location, given the fact that this bird has gone through a lot in the last 2 years. And you will see that in Central America, it was common practice in the 70s and 80s to, clear cut and slash and burn and basically deplete all the habitat these birds used to have. And specifically logging also made a major effect on this one, because the livelihood of this bird, of the great green macaw, depends on a specific type of tree, which is called the wild almond tree, or Dipteryx panamensis, basically. And they nest there, they feed there, they live there, they roost and all that. So the destruction of habitat, and specifically about this tree, because it's one of the hardest wood in the world, right? It brought the populations of these birds to a decline. And in some parts of throughout their range, they are considered already extinct. Luckily, by year 2008, Costa Rica banned all the harvesting, all the cutting of these trees. And ever since, and together with other conservation efforts and the private organizations and government organizations that have been involved in study and protection of these birds, the populations have returned, but nothing yet to healthy numbers. It is estimated that between Costa Rica, they only live in the Caribbean side of the country, from Tortuguero, England, to more or less Sarapiquí, Maquenque National Park areas, and they also go into Nicaragua a little bit north. Between in this small area, the estimated population is believed to be in more or less 200 individuals, right? Of those, approximately 130, 140 are reproductive individuals. So they have a very slow reproductive process, and so that doesn't help recover populations as well. But like I said, since from the 80s to today, Anthony, myself, that we spent so much time in the field, we are now seeing a recovery in the populations. Places like Tortuguero, that years ago, 15 years ago, it was unheard of to see macaws year round. There was only a time of the year around June, July, you could see them fly over. Nowadays, they're year round, they're reproducing, they're nesting, and all because we made the decision to protect this particular tree, which in turn protect other trees and other habitat, and this is helping other species to return. So we hope to see the birds during the trip. The very beautiful, loud, very vocal. They make themselves obvious when they're around, basically, because they're so loud and beautiful like that. So this is an interesting example. Also, this is a binational effort. The Nicaraguan people are also cooperating with the Costa Rican authorities and people involved in the conservation. So it's a good example. So this is a bird that still not safe. It's still not in numbers that you can say it's a healthy population. They are still uncommon areas. They're still listed as endangered, critically endangered. Another example I wanted to bring, this is another bird that we hope to see, especially around the Caño Negro area. This is the area of wetlands that Tony mentioned, one of the most important sites of wetlands in all of Central America. The Jabiru, this is a huge, tall stork. It's over 5 feet tall, and the wingspan is probably, I don't know, 7, 8 feet wingspan. It's a really large bird. Again, a very slow reproductive process. And this bird has suffered more from the effects of agriculture, right? The expansion of sugarcane, expansion basically of rice and other crops like that has affected the populations of Jabirus in the country. And I should make a note of this because Jabirus in certain parts of South America, especially in those wetlands and llanos in South America, they are numerous. They are super common there. But in Central America, they are scarce. They're rare. There are only a few spots along Central America the populations were found. And nowadays, basically due to these effects that I mentioned, agriculture, extensive agriculture, the populations are low. This is a bird, as I said, the great green macaw is probably around 200 plots, a little more maybe. In the case of Jabiru's, the populations in Costa Rica are estimated to be below or close to 100 individuals only, right? They depend on tall, towering trees for their nesting. They cover long distances when they go foraging for food, and they visit wetlands and rivers and all that. But basically, right now, there are two main populations that you can see, one in Caño Negro, and the other one is near Palo Verde National Park, and that's about it. They may venture outside those protected areas, visit some private lands, some private farms, and forage, and even nest outside of the protected land. So this is another bird that deserves a lot of attention. There's people who are currently involved in collecting more information about the Jabirus and trying to work with the communities, work with the farmers to change some of their practices to a little bit more sustainable, and then provide the opportunities to these birds to return to their habitats. But again, it's limited. It's a highly specialized bird in habitat. So by altering this habitat, the conditions may be a little bit difficult for them. Another bird we expect to see, we have chances. We can't promise anything, of course, but this is it's on the list, especially around Caño Negro area. Basically, this is some ideas on how to protect endangered birds, right? Basically, what we need is to gather more information, where they live, how they live, and what actions we can do. You guys are involved very much with the La Hontan Audubon, and you have your wetlands, and you have your work that you're doing. And so hopefully with this program that we're going to offer for you guys next year, we will be able to support some of your projects and also the project here, because part of what we're trying to do is work together with conservation groups in the country. We're going to be working with the great green macaw, and we are still hoping that we can do something also for the Dabiru. Essentially, something means bring funds for their projects, for their conservation efforts like that, right? And then wait, oops, sorry guys, sorry. Um, there you go. Basically, work with the general public about raising awareness and educate the younger generations about these birds. And luckily, Costa Rica has been taking steps towards this conservation awareness. And we are one of the leaders in the area, but still a lot needs to be done. And so hopefully, what we like to do, and it's something that we've done with LAS before, and it's that you guys can support the project, and then part of what you do is also brought here to support local groups. So with this, I would very much like to finish our presentation. And here's three wattle bellbird saying gracias to all of you for your attention. Um, uh, Thank you, Diane. Susie, it was great seeing you too. I know you didn't have a chance to say hi to you, but yeah. So thank you all. And if anybody has any questions, we'll be here. Okay, thank you.
So now is the fun part that we get to try out is the question and answers. Can figure out how
Okay.
this works. So let's see if there's anything in the Zoom world first.
Okay.
Um,
Diane, I can see a couple of one question here. I don't know if,
question.
yeah,
With
it
total
says,
number of species that we might see on this tour.
yeah, okay. This is very relative, right, Tony? I mean, there's so many factors, but I am pretty sure that we will be surpassing maybe 300 species. You know, that's a sort of what can I say, a conservative number, perhaps, or something like that. Given that we're going to be visiting very similar habitat, right? Except when we go into the dry areas and all that. So possibly it's going to stay to close to that rank of 300 species, counting the
So
Central
I'm saying
Valley.
up to 300 species for the people that are live here and are having a hard time hearing through the speaker. So I'll probably repeat so that everyone here can hear. Does
Okay.
anyone here have any questions?
No pressure, Tony, with 300 species.
Yeah, no
Pressure is
pressure.
on, huh?
Tell me that, yeah.
Any questions?
When you traveling from one side to the other,
So we're traveling from one side to the other, is that correct?
from the country, yeah, when in a van.
Yes. You mean from the Caribbean side, Pacific side? Is that the question?
Into Pacific.
In a van or a bus?
In a van, how are we traveling?
Oh, but yeah, the first part, getting to Tortuguero, we use a boat, and after that, we're going to be traveling in one bus van that fits 18 people basically, and so most of the time we'll be riding. And for a couple of the locations, we also have boat tours involved, and so yeah, but boat and then bus.
So one of the things about Tortuguero, there are no roads, it's all water. So the way to travel over there is by boat. And it's going to be just a beautiful way to go and see the birds just floating along the quiet waters. Once we get out of Tortuguero, then it sounds like we will have a van, a larger van that can fit all of us in, and we will be, Crescentia is really nice to offer a driver to us. So they will pick us up from the airport when we arrive in San Jose. And then once we get out of Tortuguero and off of the water, we will be using the van to transport and to get from place to place. Correct?
Yes.
One more
Those
question.
of us that are going, are we going to get some sort of handouts on like clothing or money, you know, exchange? Something like
So
that?
yes, anyone who is going on the tour, we have about 3 slots open still. I will be sending you an email or calling you and letting you know, give you an example of a packing list and recommended supplies to bring. And then the same thing goes, the nice thing about Costa Rica for money exchange is they actually accept US dollars. So you can exchange money here, or you can exchange money over there. But I found when I've traveled to Costa Rica, I just bring cash, US dollars for small things, and as long as it's a small bill, they'll exchange it for you right there. Do you have anything to add to that about money exchange?
Sure. Yeah. No. As part of what we call the info pack, right? We will send a series of documents that will explain a lot of these logistics, right? There's gonna be like a packing list. There's gonna be a recommended written list, and all of the logistics and general information about the country. All of these things all digital, of course. Yeah, we do send PDFs with explaining all this for the people that sign up.
So Mario will likely send me the PDFs of the info packet, and I will make sure it gets to all the entire group. Any more questions? Okay, it looks like there aren't any questions from here. I would just like to make note that I really like that one bare-throated bird that looked kind of like James Bond.
Okay, there's a sorry, James Bond.
It was a
it's
black bird, with red throat, and it had
and
James
if
Bond
you
hair.
see the hairdo, it's a mix between James Bond and Elvis because they have that. Now, there's another question here, Dan, in the
Okay.
question. So
Yes.
go ahead.
Scroll down and see. Will there be ample opportunities for photography?
Okay, I think I'm gonna answer that. Yes, yes, we will have opportunities during the boat. The boat tours especially offer great opportunities, but I mean it's birding. The primary focus of the trip will be birding, but yes, there will be photography opportunities, right? We will not focus on like spending half a day doing photography because that's not the purpose. The purpose is that the group together with Anthony and the people involved in the program, and they learn more about the habitat, they learn about culture, they learn about the birds, of course. But yes, there will be opportunities, but it's not a photography trip. It's a bird and photography trip.
So I would just like to give a shout out because we do have a couple people actually watching on Facebook Live as well. So we're
nice.
live on Zoom, we're live on Facebook, and we're live here in person.
Wow. Wow.
Any more questions? That's it. So thank you very much, Tony. Thank you very much, Mario. We're so happy to meet you. I don't know if you can hear that.
Yes, yes. Thank you, thank you. And if you guys have any further questions later on, Diane, you can probably channel that through us. We'll be
Yes.
happy to do it.
So I am sort of the contact, and I've been WhatsApping with Mario fairly frequently. If you have any questions about Costa Rica, please email me or ask me. And I can, if it's a question that is specific for Costa Rica, I can shoot that over to Mario or Tony. They can, and we can talk back and forth, even from Costa Rica.